You've tried to love the avoidant in a healthy way, in a way that is selfless, genuine, and kind. And look where that has led you. If the avoidant really loved you and met your need, you wouldn't even have to watch this video. And yet, despite everything you've done for them, the avoidant has done nothing but disappointed you. You've tried the good path, it didn't work. Now it's time to try something different. Do you know what every avoidant who ever came back has in common? Obsession. Wild, unhinged obsession for their partner they left. The more obsessed they are with you, the closer they want to be with you. Love doesn't move an avoidant. Not your patience, not your loyalty, not the endless devotion you've bled out trying to prove yourself with. They don't fall for kindness. They don't soften at effort. To them, love feels like a trap, and every good intention you offer only confirms their worst fears. But obsession, that's different. Obsession bypasses their defenses. Obsession rewires their instincts. Obsession keeps them awake at night, circling your name like a moth circling flame. They don't understand it. They can't control it. And that's why they can't resist it. You've tried everything else. You explained. You forgave. You stayed through silence, distance, rejection, and it wasn't enough. Because avoidants don't respond to being loved. They respond to being haunted. So here's the truth. No one tells you. The only way to hold an avoidant is to become the unsolvable puzzle they cannot stop chasing. Not with pleading, not with sacrifice, but with the quiet power of being unforgettable. Chapter 1. Why avoidants don't respond to love. Here's the cruel secret. Avoidants don't respond to love because love makes them nauseous. Not your fault. Blame their wiring. To them, tenderness feels like a trap. Devotion smells like desperation. And consistency reads like chains. The more you give, the less they want. The more you bleed, the quicker they vanish. You thought your loyalty would soften them. Instead, it smothered them. You thought explaining yourself would help them understand. Instead, it armed them with more reasons to retreat. With avoidance, every act of love becomes evidence that you're safe, predictable, solved, and nothing repels them faster. But obsession, that's different. Obsession short-circuits their defenses. They can rationalize away your devotion, but they cannot rationalize away their own compulsion to check your socials at 2 a.m., to circle back after ghosting you, to wonder why you didn't reply this time. This is why love fails them and obsession consumes them. Love is gentle. Obsession is violent. Love is patient. Obsession claws at their ribs until they can't breathe. Love is optional. Obsession is involuntary. So let's stop pretending. Avoidants don't want to be loved. They want to be haunted. Haunted by the one person who slipped through their hands. Haunted by the mystery they can't decode. Haunted by the terrifying realization that, for once, they are the one chasing. That's the game. That's the only way. Chapter 2. The anatomy of obsession. Obsession is not random. It has an anatomy, a design, a structure. And if you want to hold an avoidant, you must learn to build it piece by piece, bone by bone. First, scarcity. Avoidants crave what they can't have. They don't fall for abundance. They fall for famine. When you flood them with attention, they drown. When you ration your presence, they thirst. And thirst is where obsession begins. Never forget this. A drop of water in the desert is more valuable than an ocean at their doorstep. Second, unpredictability. Predictability is death to them. When they know exactly when you'll text, what you'll say, how you'll react, they lose interest. But when you shift rhythm, sometimes warm, sometimes distant, always impossible to chart, they lean in. Their brain hates uncertainty, but their desire feeds on it. You don't need chaos. You need controlled mystery, like a locked box they can see but never open. Third, glimpses of intimacy. You cannot starve them completely. Total absence makes them flee. No, feed them just enough to keep their hunger alive. A sudden vulnerability, a stolen moment. then pull back before they consume it fully. Obsession isn't built on indulgence. It's built on hints. Like perfume on a scarf, they can never quite wash out. Fourth, ego disruption. Avoidants survive on superiority. They need to believe they're untouchable. The moment you become solvable, you prove them right. The moment you confuse them, ignore them, or make them doubt their hold on you, you crack their armor. And that tiny fracture is where obsession slips in. They can't stop picking at it. Finally, absence with presence. You're not gone. You're simply elsewhere. Untouchable. They must feel you without having you. Your silence becomes louder than your words. Your absence becomes a presence that stalks them. They'll think of you when you're not around. They'll replay conversations, scan your pictures, wonder if you've already slipped beyond their reach. That's obsession. The ghost of you, living rent-free in their head. And here's your validation. You don't have to destroy yourself to earn their attention. You don't have to beg or bleed or shrink. Obsession is not about becoming less. It's about becoming untouchable. The avoidant cannot love what suffocates them, but they will forever chase what unsettles them. So don't be their comfort, be their compulsion. Don't be the answer. Be the unsolvable riddle that keeps them circling until they collapse. That's the anatomy of obsession. That's the skeleton you must build if you want them to orbit you forever. Chapter 3. The Bait and the Distance. Avoidants are addicted to paradox. They want intimacy, but only if it's rationed. They want closeness, but only if it's laced with distance. And this is where most partners fail. They give too much bait, too little distance, or too much distance and no bait at all. The secret is balance. A cruel, calculated balance. Step 1, bait them. A flash of intimacy. A private confession slipped into conversation. A brush of your hand on their arm when they didn't expect it. Something that tells them, you might be able to have me. That glimpse is irresistible. It lowers their guard. It sparks the fantasy. Step 2, withdraw. Not dramatically, not with a tantrum. Withdraw softly, elegantly. You disappear into your own world. You don't text back for hours. You get busy with your life. You remind them, without words, that their access to you is not guaranteed. And in that space, they start thinking of you, not with comfort, but with obsession. Step 3, repeat. This is the rhythm that hooks an avoidant. A breadcrumb of warmth, then the door closes. A stolen intimacy, then silence. Not enough to satisfy them, but never so little that they forget you. This is not a game of generosity. This is a game of scarcity. You are not feeding them meals. You are feeding them morsels, just enough to keep them hungry. And hunger, for an avoidant, is indistinguishable from desire. Here's your validation. You've been tricked into believing that patience, sacrifice, and endless availability would earn their loyalty. It never will, because avoidants don't bond with comfort. They bond with hunger. They don't want to be fed. They want to starve for you. And here's the sinister beauty. The less you give, the more they imagine. The less you reveal, the more they project. The less you explain, the more they obsess over what you meant. Their own mind becomes your accomplice, building fantasies around your absence. Most people try to chase an avoidant with reassurance, and they fail. The ones who succeed, they dangle the bait, then vanish into the mist. Obsession doesn't come from what you give. It comes from what you refuse to give. Become their feast, but never let them eat. Chapter 4. Become the center of their orbit. Avoidants live like satellites. They drift, they circle, they pass in and out of reach. Most partners make the fatal mistake of orbiting them, of rearranging their entire existence around the avoidant's moods, silences, and retreats. That's why they never win. If you want to hold an avoidant, you must invert the cosmos. You become the planet. You become the gravity. You become the center around which they rotate, whether they like it or not. How? By living as if they are optional, as if your world spins with or without them. You fill your days with purpose, passion, and silence they can't invade. You don't chase their distance. You make them chase your presence. You don't orbit their moods. You let them orbit your mystery. Here's the sinister truth. Avoidants respect gravity, not devotion. They respect the pull they can't explain, not the one who waits faithfully on the edge of their universe. The more you chase, the smaller you become. The more you stand still, self-contained, untouchable, the more they circle back. And here's your validation. You don't have to shrink to fit into their orbit. You don't have to beg for their attention. You are the mass, the weight, the pull. When you stand in your own gravity, they can't escape. Not because you've trapped them, but because their own body betrays them. They will circle, 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 until they finally realize they were never the sun. You were. Chapter 5. The Art of Unavailability. Avoidants claim they want freedom, space, distance. But let's be honest, what they actually want is unavailability, yours, because only when you're not fully accessible do they begin to crave you. Unavailability is not neglect. It's not cruelty. It's theater. It's knowing that value rises when access declines. It's remembering that jewels are locked away, not scattered in the street. Here's how you master it. 1. Withhold your time. Stop being on call like an emergency hotline. If they vanish for days, don't leap the moment they reappear. Let them wait. Let them sweat. Unavailability makes your presence currency, rare, precious, and unforgettable. 2. Ration your words. Avoidants thrive on silence. Good. Make silence your ally. Don't explain yourself to death. Don't write novels to fill their void. Use fewer words, sharper words, words that leave them wondering what you didn't say. Mystery grows in the omissions, not the paragraphs. 3. Guard your emotions. Stop handing them your heart like it's free literature at a street corner. Let them work for glimpses of your vulnerability. A single confession, dropped like a dagger, is more intoxicating than a flood of emotional oversharing. 4. Control your rhythm. Never be perfectly predictable. Reply sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Say yes today, no tomorrow. Show up radiant, then disappear into your own life. Predictability numbs them. Unavailability makes them twitch. And here's the sinister validation. You've been taught that constant availability equals love, but to an avoidant, constant availability equals boredom. They respect what they fear losing. They obsess over what they can't quite pin down. So you don't starve them, you tease them. You become the door that opens just a crack, then closes before they step inside. You don't deny your existence. You deny your surrender. Avoidants don't bond through comfort. They bond through craving. They don't fall for the ones who hand themselves over. They fall for the ones who slip through their fingers again and again until holding on becomes an obsession. So master the art of unavailability. Stop offering yourself on demand. Become the luxury they can't afford to lose. Because to an avoidant, your absence will always burn hotter than your presence. And that burn, that's what keeps them coming back. Chapter 6. How to haunt them. Avoidants think they're experts at haunting. They disappear, they retreat, they leave you pacing the floorboards with unanswered questions echoing in your head. But here's the twist. They only win if you let their silence bury you. The real power comes when you become the ghost in their house. To haunt someone is not to chase them. It is to linger in their mind long after you've left the room. It is to live in their silence, to creep into their thoughts when they swore they were free of you. That is the art, and avoidants are helpless against it. Step 1. Plant residue. Don't give them everything. Give them fragments, a sentence that hints at more, a look that promises but never delivers, a secret you start but don't finish. Humans are wired to obsess over the unfinished, avoidance even more so. Step 2, exit at the peak. Don't overstay. Don't linger. Leave when the moment is sharpest, when they're laughing, when they're leaning in, when their defenses are slipping. Walk out while the room is still warm with your presence. They'll replay it endlessly, wishing they could freeze it. That replay is your haunting. Step 3, create absence with weight. You don't need to vanish completely. Just step back, go quiet, live your life loudly elsewhere. Make them aware of your absence without announcing it. The mind hates empty space. It fills it with fantasies, and fantasies are stronger than reality. Here's your validation. You've been haunted by them long enough. Their distance, their silence, their withholding. It carved you open. But the moment you turn the mirror, the moment you become the one who lingers after the door slams shut, they're undone. Because avoidants aren't immune to obsession. They're addicts for it. They just never expect to be the one craving. Haunting is not cruelty. Haunting is artistry. It's the perfume that lingers after you leave. The echo of footsteps in a room they thought was empty. The memory they can't kill, no matter how hard they try. Avoidants bond not with the partner who stayed, begging. They bond with the one who left fingerprints on their soul. Become that ghost, and you won't just stay in their life, you'll stay in their bones. Chapter 7, Signs. They are obsessed. Avoidants like to act immune. They wear detachment like armor, smug in their belief that nothing and no one can touch them. But obsession leaves fingerprints, even on the coldest glass. And if you know what to look for, you'll see the cracks forming. Sign number 1, they circle back. The ghost who vanished suddenly reappears. Casual, of course. A text, a meme, a question that doesn't matter. They'll pretend it's nothing, but here's the sinister truth. Avoidants don't circle back to the people they've forgotten. They circle back to the people they can't erase. Sign number 2, they monitor you. Maybe they don't say it. Maybe they never ask directly. But you notice likes on old photos, silent views of your stories, questions slipped into conversation about what you've been doing. Avoidants pretend they don't care, but obsession makes them nosy. Sign number 3, they test harder. Obsession unsettles them, so they'll try to regain control. More silence, more retreat, more games. Don't panic. That's not rejection. That's proof. They're trying to starve you to see if you'll feed them. They only test what matters. Sign number 4, they show cracks of vulnerability. A confession slips out. A childhood story they swore they'd never tell. A moment of softness they try to bury under sarcasm. That's not weakness. It's obsession breaking through the dam. And here's the validation. You don't need them to say the words. Avoidants rarely do. Their obsession isn't announced in love letters. It's written in the ways they can't stop orbiting you, even when they pretend otherwise. So watch the signs. When the hunter begins circling the trap, when the ghost starts haunting you, when the walls tremble under the weight of their own craving, you'll know. They're obsessed, and that obsession is the only doorway to their heart. Chapter 8, Obsession versus Love. Here's the bitter truth. Love and obsession are not the same thing. Love is warm, soft, safe. Love is mutual, predictable, ordinary. Obsession, though, obsession is jagged, dangerous, unforgettable. And with an avoidant, love without obsession is worthless. They don't trust love. They smother under it. They've been running from it their whole lives. But obsession? That slips past their defenses. Obsession is the one thing they can't rationalize away. It claws at them in the middle of the night. It makes them double back after swearing they were done. It forces them to care when they've spent years pretending they didn't. This is the paradox. Obsession is the doorway to love for an avoidant. Without it, your devotion is invisible. With it, they finally feel the gravity that drags them toward intimacy. It's twisted, unfair, manipulative, even, but it's the only way. And here's where you reclaim your power. You don't build obsession by bleeding more, giving more, loving harder. You build it by pulling back, by rationing, by haunting. You build it by refusing to be solved, refusing to be consumed, refusing to shrink into predictability. Once they're obsessed, love sneaks in through the cracks. They start protecting you instead of pushing you away. They start craving your presence instead of fleeing from it. They start showing loyalty, not because they chose to, but because obsession forced them to. And here's your validation. You've been told that to win love, you must be endlessly kind, patient, forgiving. That works on some people, but not on avoidance. With them, love without obsession is invisible. Obsession without love is unbearable. The combination of both, that's the rare, dangerous alchemy that binds them for life. So stop asking to be loved. Stop proving you're enough. Become their obsession first. Then, and only then, does love follow. Because avoidants don't bond with devotion. They bond with compulsion. And when you become the one they cannot stop chasing, love finally becomes inevitable. Outro, the only way. Avoidants don't fall for kindness. They don't melt under patience. They don't surrender to devotion. Those are languages they don't speak, and if you've been trying them, no wonder you've been met with silence. The truth is colder, sharper. Avoidants only bond when they're obsessed. Obsession bends their rules. It drags them back against their will. It makes them orbit you long after they swore they were gone. You don't get there by bleeding out your love. You don't get there by handing them your soul on a silver platter. You get there by becoming the riddle they can't solve, the absence they can't ignore, the gravity they can't escape. And here's the part no one dares to admit. Obsession is not optional. It's the doorway. Without it, you're disposable. With it, you're unforgettable. Once they're hooked, love seeps in, not because they wanted it, but because they couldn't stop it. So stop begging. Stop auditioning. Stop trying to prove you're enough. You've always been enough. The difference is how you're perceived. To the avoidant, love is suffocation, but obsession is oxygen. Become their obsession, and you'll never be forgotten. That's the only way.